Welcome to the show today. Today we're going to be talking about how to rehabilitate your property for more profit. We have here with us Mr. Mike. He is a real estate investor and founder of Rockwood Investment Group. Rockwood is a real estate investment company that helps buyers find deals with equity so they can make a profit. He's going to tell us more about what Rockwood do and how to get into the real estate business. Let's welcome Mr. Mike to the show. How you doing, sir?
Doing great, man. Thanks for having me.
Good. So you're down in Miami. How did you get inspired to get into the real estate business?
Yeah, so honestly, about 4.5 years ago, I used to be a pharmaceutical sales rep. And, I've always been in the world of real estate because my dad owned a construction company, but he wasn't a rehabber. He actually owns concrete company. So he pours concrete for people. So, since I was little, I always saw it, never really looked at it as a business. I always thought like, man, look at them. And I would pour the concrete for them. And, it was funny because I would always be like, oh, that's an investor. That's so cool. But it never really matched. I never put one in the other. I never told myself I'm going to be an investor one day in my life. I wasn't one of those guys. And about 4 years ago, I was I was working for a pharmaceutical company. And, we had like a buyout. Another big company came over and bought us out. And when that happened, they fired all of us. And so they gave us like a little small severance package. And I remember a friend of mine at that point told me, hey, dude, I see that you're on Instagram, you're inspirational. I like the way you speak. Have you ever thought about getting into investing? And that's kind of how I kind of merged into it. It wasn't something that I ever planned. It wasn't like a childhood dream or anything like that. It was kind of, damn, I got fired. What else do I do? And I kind of fell into it. And once I came in, I loved it. I liked it. I liked the whole growing experience. And then I went full throttle.
Wow. So from that experience, you went from there to Rockwood. So how did Rockwood emerge, and how did you find out there's certain services that other investment companies wasn't offering that you started offering?
Man, honestly, it grew. It came out of like frustration, I would say. I was working for a company doing exactly what we do currently, and I came in with the idea of like a partnership, or I guess I got sold that vision, and I ended up, not saying that I didn't like what I was doing, but working for this company, it kind of didn't feel like I had the ability to grow, right? I felt like I was limited within the company, and there was another guy in the company. We started talking to each other and we said, hey, we kind of know what we're doing. We didn't really know the full throttle of it, but we kind of had an idea. And we said, why don't we just take off, open up our own company? And even if we do less work, we'll make more money. And so that's kind of how Rockwood, was born. Now, obviously, when I did the move, everything I thought I knew or all the ease that I thought the business had became a reality. And that's when I really started learning how to real estate invest.
So when you started out, was it just the Miami area only, or did you just really went all over the state of Florida?
No, man, I've only done Miami till this day. I've only done Miami and Broward. So I've really only done business in two counties. We're fortunate enough that Miami is a big county, and so is Broward. So, when I talk to other people that I go to events to and they're nationwide and they tell me, oh, I had to get out of my city, it's because they have a small city or they have small price tags. Fortunately, Miami is a big city and it has big tickets, right? Your houses are 250, 300, 500, a million. Some neighborhoods don't have that. So I now currently am starting to look to venture out, but I've always told myself I want to become the best in the area that I'm in. And so that's kind of why I've never really bounced out of here.
Oh wow! So you really want to just be a specialty or a specialist in the area of Broward and Dade County?
Exactly. There's so much business here. I started doing little rehabs and wholesales. Now I'm in bigger rehabs and wholesales, where I'm kind of moving into developments. Miami gives you, and so does Broward, that opportunity to grow into a bigger player. A lot of areas don't have that. There's some areas that don't have new constructions or high rises being built. Fortunately, we do. So if I can grow into that, why would I get out of here?
That's true. So what can an investor do to earn more money on their property?
Yeah, so right now more than ever, I'm testing it, right? Because when I first started, I used to only wholesale. So wholesale is a process where you grab a deal, you put it under contract, you find a buyer, and you wholesale the property, right? You're flipping the paper, you're flipping the contract. And so that's where I started because I, always had the fear of putting my own money. I didn't really understand the rehabs. And so I started just wholesaling. I did very good. Last year, I think we did about, or the previous year, I wouldn't say last year. Last year was COVID year, but the previous year we did about 62 wholesales, fairly big amount of deals here for a local city. And then I started rehabbing. And when I first started rehabbing, it was like, all right, I'm going to come in and improve the house, right? Kitchen, bathroom, paint job, flooring, if I have to do any repairs to the roof and sell it. And what I noticed with that is you can get some money, but you only max out with your profit because there's only so much you can do to a house in that and try to max out the value. Today, I have projects that I'm redeveloping the whole house. I'm only using the four walls that existed and I'm doing everything brand new. And so now the profits on the back end are much bigger. So it kind of depends on who you want to be when you step into the game. I didn't step in immediately to redeveloping. I just first, makeup on a pig type, do a little this, a little that, make 40, 50 grand, walk away happy. Now I'm like, all right, can I make 200, 300 grand per deal? A whole different work, but at the end of the day, I'm still doing the same thing.
Right, right. So what do you think is some of the like beginner investors mistakes that they make when they start rehabbing a property?
So what I've learned, and I see this a lot in my lending company, is that people have a lot of speculation, and that's a big mistake. I tell everybody that wants to get in this business, you don't make your money when you sell the property, you make the money when you buy the property, right? Because real estate has a lot of errors. You might say, oh, I'm just gonna do a kitchen, a bathroom, paint job, and flooring, and then when you start taking things down, you have rotten, plumbing. Your electricity is cloth wiring. You have to, put it up to code. The roof, you found damage in the in the ceiling. There's a lot of things that you can't see the first time you look at a house. And so I see a lot of investors are like, oh yeah, I can sell for 300, speculating that the market's going to keep swinging up, and they buy the house too high, and then they have carrying costs, they have errors, they have mistakes, and then they go negative. And I think that's where a lot of people screw up, man. They don't think, one thing I learned like about 2.5 years ago, and I heard it in a podcast or in an interview, is the guy was saying that try to fail the property, right? So run your numbers and try to screw it up. And if at the number you're buying it, there's no way you can screw it up, then you bought a good deal. But if you're going, all right, if this happened, this happened, this happened, and your numbers now are too tight, then you shouldn't buy that because those things can happen.
Well, I never heard it that way. That's actually a good way to looking at a property. Always look at the downside before the upside. If I'm
Exactly, because if you're happy making 40 grand on the down, beating up the deal, hey, when you make 60, you're gonna be ecstatic. But if you think you're gonna make 40 on a perfect scenario and then you make 10, you're gonna be a pissed off investor.
That's true. That's true. That's true. Um, what do you think, like, especially in Miami, what do you think is the average rehabilitation for a property? Like, how much do you think is for rehab, like a 250, $300,000 property? Just on the average, not something that has horrible roofs and the drywall got, mildew, all this stuff. Like, what is the average that you normally think you spend on a rehab?
Yeah, so normally, your basic, you're probably gonna do about 25,000 if you're hiring somebody, right? If you're doing it yourself, you might get away with it for 15, 18,000. But if you have somebody, if you're not the guy going out there and picking up a hammer and demoing stuff, you're gonna spend about 20 to 25 on the low, small 2-1, 3-1 type house. On the high side, you're probably gonna spend between 50 and 60,000, and that would be your average 18, 1900 square foot house, doing everything to code, to the new modern style that you're going to sell for top dollar. So it kind of ranges in those. It obviously depends a lot on your neighborhood. Like right now, we're doing houses that I think the lowest one I'm putting it is 120,000. The highest one I'm doing is 250,000. But I'm actually, I'm obviously going to try to go for the home run here, and I'm going to try to ask for the most because I'm going very, very high end. I'm doing things extremely nice, everything brand new. Like I said, I'm only keeping 4 walls.
Oh wow, okay, that's a major project. What?
Correct. Those are major projects. Those are a little different than for a starter. I wouldn't recommend that to a guy that just wants to jump in.
Right,
Probably not the route to take,
right. So, you think wholesaling is like a real good way for an investor to get in? Is that like a good way to kind of get your feet wet, to kind of understand how a transaction works before you start kind of going to the rehab?
Yeah, 100% wholesaling is always the easiest, safest, the most quickest. Because wholesale, if you think about it, all you really got to do is really be good at finding deals, right? You're not really an investor. You might fall into the investor umbrella, but I wouldn't consider you an investor because you're not investing capital. You're only investing time. So it's a strategy. But yeah, I recommend the people all the time. Hey, learn that first. Why? You're gonna have to learn what the market is, the value. You gotta know what's a good deal. When you try to sell it, an investor is gonna tell you, hey, you're crazy, that's too expensive. So if you're smart, you're paying attention. All right, he's an investor. He's telling me I'm too expensive. Shit, I should learn this neighborhood. I shouldn't buy houses this high. So it's a great way to learn the business and have as little money at risk as possible.
So, do you think getting into that business ultimately leads people into the rehab business, or flipping properties, or do people normally stay in the wholesale business and just kind of build up a big portfolio of just doing wholesale altogether?
So I would say it's 50-50, because rehab side has a different strategy to it. So you got to kind of like that type of business, right? When I first started, I was only 100% wholesaling, right? I created a team of about 12 to 14 people in the office. We were 100% acquisition team, disposition team, team coordinators, right? We were just running machine. What happened was I started dabbling into the investment side of it. In the beginning, it was a little challenging. I didn't like it. I would tell myself, why the hell did I jump into this, man? Look at me now. I'm stressed out with the rehabber. He didn't show up on time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And then I kept pulling back to the wholesale. But to be honest with you, when COVID struck, the wholesale in general started slowing down, right? Inventory was short, so there wasn't as many deals. And I kind of jumped more into the rehab side. And that's when I realized, like, man, you know what? I can do quote unquote less work for more profit. And so I still do both, but to run a full operating wholesale company until you have, every position filled up, it's a lot of time, a lot of effort. It's a lot of manpower. You got to be there all day negotiating, shit's going through, deals are falling apart. You're not selling, people are screaming at you versus the rehabs. If you do it right, man, you're doing 5, 6, 7 rehabs a year. You're making a couple $100,000. Shit, it takes a lot more work than that to do a couple $100,000 in wholesales, man.
That's true. So, with Rockwood, what is the services that you guys offer now to investors?
So now we've become more that Rockwood is the investor, right? Before we were the guy that would provide you the inventory, right? Like that's what we would pride on. Hey, we're gonna get there faster. We're gonna get better deals. Come buy from us. Now the way I'm pivoting and marketing myself is, you got a good deal, sell to me. I'm a real cash buyer. I deliver, I close fast. I own a private lending company, so money is not a problem. That's the pitch I'm giving to the market today. So I don't come off as so much a wholesaler anymore. The way I'm pushing my company is, hey, we're the buyers. You got a good deal, bring it to me and I can close.
Oh wow, oh wow. So when was this the birth of this investing to other investors or buying from them or lending them money? Did that come out of the wholesale rehab ideal that you had, and then you said, oh well, maybe this is another niche that we can kind of start off? And did that happen during the COVID era, or
It
how?
happened during the COVID era, man.
Yeah.
Before that, I was like, hey, let's wholesale. Let's get to 100 wholesales a month, get to 150 wholesales a month. I just kept thinking that. But again, like I said, until you have a full operation, the wholesale takes a lot of my personal time. So it was hard for me to step away from the office because, I would say the caboose of the train, right? So I was the one pushing the group. So if I was gone, then the group would kind of be like, all right, cool, we're missing a link. On the rehab side, now I've learned, all right, if I partner with people that are good at what they do and I'm good at what I do, then I can do more and I have more time for myself. And that's kind of the way I've seen it. And that's what kind of COVID taught me, right? COVID started teaching me, time is more valuable than money because that's the one thing you can't get back.
This is true. I said it all the time. Time is way more valuable because that's something you can't rewind.
That's it, man. Once you lose the time, it's done. I lost a year. I lost a year. I'm not getting it back. I lost 100 grand. Shit, get back to work. I'll make 100 grand. Like
That's true. Do you believe at some point you're going to expand outside of the Miami area and kind of go a little further into the Florida area or maybe some other states in the future?
Yeah, I think that is something that we're talking about right now. I'm kind of niching in the sense of I want to do these bigger projects in specific neighborhoods. So kind of right now where I'm geared is, can I become the best at this specific area, right? And then once I get the hang of that, I might venture out. As of right now, it's not in my immediate conversation because Miami's going through a major growth spurt right now. There's a lot of, fortunately, taxes in big states like California and New York are causing people to come down to either Texas or Miami. I think what happened with Texas recently with electricity and their grids got shot might move more people towards Florida. And so I think Florida right now, and specifically Miami, is on a really big growth spurt. So I kind of want to take the ride, man. I want to take that ride in my own backyard and get to the point where I'm selling $1 million rehabs. So I think I still have growth there. And then at some point, I'll start expanding.
Yeah, cool. So, how can one look up Rockwood to get more information about what you guys do?
Yeah, I think the best way is to follow me on Instagram, Mike Venereo. The site says a little bit about us, but again, I'm not really putting a lot of attention on that marketing. My real growth is being more on my Instagram right now. That's like where I'm putting all my attention. So, following me at Mike Venereo, you'll see what I'm up to. You'll see, the loans that we can offer. You'll see the houses we're rehabbing, the houses we're wholesaling. And I think I'm putting more attention on my personal brand. So then that way people can say, hey, this is the guy I want to follow. This is the guy I want to trust. This is the guy I want to work with. And then obviously Rockwood will benefit off of it.
That's cool, man. Mike, it was a pleasure having you. It seemed like this has been a real estate month for me, and you have brought a lot of more information that other people haven't because we haven't really kind of hit on wholesale a lot. But it's kind of good hearing it from you, seeing that it was like a start for you, and then you went into rehab and now into the lending process. So it's just so you gave people information on how to kind of get started if they kind of scared to kind of go into the rehab in the beginning because they haven't done it or because they don't really have the money to do it. And I guess
Correct.
other tools to make money in real estate so they can kind of learn the business, not just how to flip a property, but also know the transactional part, which is kind of like the wholesale part itself.
Correct. Yeah. And again, on the wholesale side, it's cool because you're learning, right? If you sold somebody something, and which is what I always did, if I would sell somebody something, I would follow their journey. And I would say, man, let's see how much they sold it for. And sometimes I would get pissed off because I would be like, damn, why didn't I just keep it? What the hell was that? Why did I sell it for freaking $10,000? But it still also gave me confidence. Like, holy shit, I got him a good deal and I got it even better. Next time I'm going to take the risk. So that's why wholesaling is pretty cool because it teaches you the numbers and you're not risking. You have no risk in it. You sold it. The guy made money. You talk to him. Hey, how'd you do? Hey, I made 70 grand. Damn, I could have made 80 grand then. Like fuck,
I get it. Oh my God. It was a pleasure having you, Mike. Thank you for joining us today, man. Appreciate it, brother.
Hey, thanks for having me on, man.
All right. All right. Next time, IBS.
You got it, brother.